We get asked a question a lot of times, what is the difference of the cost of living in the city of Philadelphia and living out in the suburbs? Well, this video is going to answer that question for you today. Hello all, and thanks for stopping by our channel again. Hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification. We do a lot of epic videos on the Philadelphia area, the greater Philadelphia area, in the city, out of the city, on the suburbs. My name is Gregory Martyr. I'm your local real estate expert here. We got you covered in Philly and in Jersey, in the suburbs, anywhere you need us. Give us a call, shoot me a text. You can send an email, comment down below. We'll get your questions answered. We'll get you taken care of. And don't forget to hit subscribe. All right, let's get to it. We're going to talk about the differences of living in the city of Philadelphia and living outside of the city in the suburbs. All right, so we're going to break down a little bit here with taxes, the transfer tax, the property taxes, the city wage taxes, living in the city, out of the city. We'll talk about taxes as far as the differences in living in this area. We'll also talk about home values, talk about utility information, healthcare, food, groceries, going out, having fun. That's important too. We'll also talk about gasoline prices. All right, so let's get to it. Let's start with Philadelphia. So the taxes. So the taxes are actually the lowest. Your property taxes now, that is, are the lowest in this area. They're the least expensive in the city of Philadelphia. You've got an average taxes of about $2,000. Now that's across the city. Some are as low as in the hundreds and some are as high as in the multiple $1,000, depending on the price point. The assessment has to do with the actual tax algorithm, but we won't bore you with all the details. You've got an average of about $2,000. So the transfer tax in the city, if you're buying a house, is 5%. Now the buyer and seller usually split that, so it's 2.5 to each party. Talk a little bit about city wage tax. If you live in the city and work in the city, you're going to get double city wage tax. Sorry, but it's the cost of living, cost of doing business. Pretty much happens like that anywhere. Now, if you live outside of the city, you're only going to pay it once to the city. However, you are going to pay the township city wage tax, as we'll call it there, in the respectable township, depending on which county you're in. The average home cost in the city of Philadelphia is about $232,000. It's up 2% from last year. You got an average utility bill of between $100 and $300. You can check out some of our cost of living videos that we have. We'll post them there as well to get more specific in some other specific areas, depending on how much electric you use and if you're using natural gas for heating or oil. But you're going to be between $100 and $300 per month for your utilities, water, sewer, trash. Now the trash is included with your taxes in the city of Philadelphia. A lot of the counties allow that too, but a lot of them don't. So it really depends on which township and which county you live in, depending on if you're going to be paying for your trash and your sewer and your recycling. So the average gasoline price is right around $2.80. It dips down to $2.30 and really kind of hovers in that mid-range. As of today, as of the making of this video today, it's about $2.80 per gallon. Now the city definitely has higher prices for gasoline, and as you get further out of the city, the prices go down, but sometimes in the counties it actually goes up. All right, so your health care is about $200 to $300 per person, and that's pretty much average across the area. Depending on the copay and depending on which insurance plan you have, you may pay a little more, you may pay a little less, but that's an average in the city for around $200 to $300 per person, family of four, around that $1,000 mark. So we'll talk a little bit about food and entertainment, having some fun. So the groceries are going to cost a person right around $1,000 a month for a family of four. Depends on how much you eat, what do you buy, and depends on how local some of the produce is and some of the other wares are that you're buying. You may pay a little less, a little bit more. As you get out into the counties, some of the pricing gets a little bit cheaper because you're closer to the farms and you can get some more local varieties, but it's not going to be drastically different. As far as eating out, going out, certainly the city, just like any city, has an elevated price point. I mean, that's just what it is. The same pint of beer that you can get at even a local tap room, if you will, here in the city, might run you anywhere from $6 to $15. So if you go out into the counties, and we'll talk about that in a moment, you might pay for the same $15 pint of beer or $10 pint of beer, you might pay half of that or less than half of that. Again, you're going to have a little bit elevated prices because you're in the city, just because of the proximity, because of the sales tax. Sales tax in the city is 7%. Outside of the city is 6%. So you want to go out and have an average meal, something light, maybe like a lunch. You might spend $30 to $40 in the city. That could be per person, a little less, a little more, depending on what you're buying. You want to get a little more fancy, or you want to have something more to eat. appetizer, meal, and a dessert, you might pay upwards of $60 or $70 per person, again, depending on which way you go. Now, there's a ton of variety in the city, and it's easier to get around, and it's easier to walk there. So again, what am I getting for my dollar? What does it cost me to actually get there? All that's kind of factored in. Let's walk out of the city and go into Montgomery County. We'll talk about a few counties today. Montgomery County certainly is on the outskirts of the city. Check out our map video that we did about the city. You can see some of the outskirts of that. Again, if you have a question or a comment, please let us know. We'd be happy to take our cameras into some area and give you the information you want. So Montgomery County, at its furthest point, is maybe 25 miles from Center City. Transfer tax is traditionally about 2%. Now, some parts of Montgomery County is going to be a little more, but it's 2%, not 5%. So everybody's going to pay, each party, the buyer and the seller, are going to pay 1% each side to get the property transferred. The average price point in Montgomery County is just around that $250,000 mark. The average price in Montgomery County could go from $250,000 all the way up to $330,000. Average property taxes in Montgomery County is nearly double what it is in the city. It's $3,500. Now remember, if you live in Montgomery County, depending on which township you live in, they are going to have a city tax for that. It's not quite as high as the city, 1% to 2%. It might be less than 1%. It really depends on the millage rates and how much boring information do you want, or how in depth you want us to get. I'm happy to answer that question. If you live in Montgomery County but work in the city, you are going to pay a city wage tax. Welcome to Philadelphia. That happens in any city, though, for sure. Sales tax in Montgomery County is at 6%, so you're saving a little bit of money there. Now, there are tons of parts of the county that are really walkable. Your utility bills are pretty much in line with the city, around $100 to $300 a month. Now, you have some other options outside of the city for your providers. So you could shop around, and certainly in the city you can shop around for oil, but there's not a lot of providers for electric, natural gas. You only have a few. You're pigeonholed in the city, but outside of the city, you have a little bit of leeway there. It's not going to save you a ton of money, but it's an interesting point to make. So healthcare is right in line with that national average and right in line with Pennsylvania in general, around $200 to $300 per person. That's very similar. Your gasoline prices are going to fluctuate for sure. You're going to be paying less for gasoline outside of the city than you are in the city, general rule of thumb. Now, to go out and eat out and have a bite to eat, you're going to be paying considerably less for that pint of beer that we mentioned, or maybe that hoagie, if you will. It's not going to be a ton different, but you have more travel options. So you're going to be traveling maybe a longer distance and driving a little bit further. Of course, if you're local to where your house, there is some walkable spots, but a lot of it is required you to get in a car and drive out and go pick it up. We can also have it delivered too. So that average $30 to $40 meal on the low side in the city is going to be around that $20 to $30 outside of the city. Pint of beer, $10 to $15 in the city is going to be less, maybe in that $6 to $7 range, depending on where you go. And if you'd really like to know about some watering holes that'll sell you beers at $2 and $3, send us a message and I'll be happy to point some out to you out in Montgomery County. All right, so let's move out to Bucks County now, also touching the city on the north side of the city towards New Jersey, New York. Bucks County comes into play and then also extends out from there as well. Now, the tax assessments are a lot higher in Bucks County as comparable to Philadelphia. So in turn, your property taxes are going to be higher. They do require, everybody does, a city wage tax. Sales tax is 6%. But they're going to require a city wage tax if you work in the city, or if you work in one of their lovely townships, you will be required to pay somewhere between 0.75, a little less than 1, but up to 2% for a wage tax. It happens everywhere. The average home cost in Bucks County is around that $320,000 price point. Now, don't get me wrong, in Montgomery County, in Bucks County, and all the other counties, we can get you great housing for under $200,000. These are just averages to just kind of give you an idea. The average property tax is, again, double the city. It's about $4,000 a year. Property taxes are in direct correlation to schools. I mean, school is the one that drives the amount of property tax. It's the largest portion of the property tax. The rest of it goes to the township in some cases and also to the state, but it's usually the local municipality. Say that word 5 times fast. Municipality. You catch my drift. But the schools are going to drive the amount of property tax. Some parts of Bucks County are as high as $9,000 and $10,000 and as low as $1,500 and $1,600, under $2,000. Healthcare is again in line with that national average, depending on what healthcare plan you have, if you have something at work, but it's going to be around that $200, $300 per person. Same thing with groceries. You're going to get more variety of choices than you are in the city. You could travel. You might be able to go to New Jersey. You could get into Delaware, home of tax-free shopping, but the average price of food is going to be a little bit less outside of the city in Bucks County as far as groceries. And going out and having fun, it's the same difference there. There's a lot more variety because Bucks County is spread out, so you're going to be paying around that average, like Montgomery County, maybe $6 or $7 for that pint of beer that we mentioned, and that small meal in that $20 to $30 range per person. If you'd like to know about some hot spots in Bucks County, shoot me a text or give me a call or comment that down below and we'll get you that information. All right, let's talk about Berks County now. The transfer tax in Berks County is similar to the city. It is as high as 5% in some municipalities. So depending on where you go in the city of Reading, as an example, it is 5%, but that's always split down the line to transfer property. I should say usually split down line. It is a negotiating factor, but usually the buyer and seller split that cost. You got an average property tax of about $3,000 and an average price point of homes in that $300,000 range. Again, don't get me wrong, we can get you a beautiful single home for under $200,000, multiple acre lots. Certainly Berks County is one of the most rural of counties near the city, but they even get more rural as you go out. You're about 50 miles away from center city to center, say, city of Reading, or the center of Kutztown, if you will. Go Golden Bears. Just to kind of give you an idea of location, the gasoline is going to be around similar expenses, but in Berks County, there's certain regulation that they don't call for, so the gas is always a little bit cheaper. So if you're near Berks County, you can go drive out to the gasoline store, right, or the gas shop and pick up some gallons of gasoline, maybe in that $2.30 range, which is excellent. Healthcare and utilities are going to be very similar there. Now, there's a lot more propane and oil usage out in Berks County, being a little more rural. Don't get me wrong, it's not like farmlands and crickets out there, but there's a lot more choices. Berks County has this cool spots, and I'm sure they do around the other areas that you could go pump your own heating oil, and it's even cheaper. All these are commodities that you have an opportunity to shop around for best pricing. As far as going out and eat and buying groceries, yeah, it's the least expensive in all of the counties. There's a ton of farm to table places. You can go right to the local farms in Berks County and get fresh milk or kefir or whatever you might like there. It's non-pasteurized, and they've got it in store. They've got meats and different butchers and different shops like that peppered throughout Berks County. All right, moving into Delaware County. Thanks for sticking with us. We're almost done. We're going to talk about Delaware County, and then we'll end with Chester County. We talked about 5 counties today, in addition to Philadelphia. Delaware County is notorious for some of the highest property taxes in the area. Now, it also has some of the best schools in the area, and so does Chester County, which we're going to talk about next. You got a 2% transfer tax for real estate transfer. The average property tax is around $6,000 with an average price point in that $350,000 range. Now, again, we can get you some beautiful places in Drexel Hill and some Upper Darby, some really excellent spots in Haverford. Check out some of our mainline videos for Delaware County. We can get you great housing well under $300,000. You have a lot of choices going around in Bucks County, Berks, Delaware, Chester, all of them. We got a ton of great choices in that $250,000 or even $150,000 price point. We'll get you what you need. So you do have a city wage tax there, 1%. Pretty much just like every other county. Delaware County is going through a tax assessment right now. I should say a change of assessment, a reassessment. So we're all hoping that the taxes are going to come down, but I think you understand that the 2 things you can most count on in life is death and taxes. Well, this is going to be one of them. So I imagine it's going to go up, but it's okay because they use tax money for schooling. They use tax money for improvements to the area, to the township, to the city. Healthcare and groceries, again, is right in line with that same thing outside of the city. A couple $100 a month per person for groceries, for healthcare, depending on what you have, where you live, what you need. Going out in Delaware County, again, you got a ton of choices. There's a lot of walkable, fun spots there. A ton of the portion of the main line is in Delaware County. So again, some of the pricing of houses goes up in the $2 million range and down to $170,000 condos. You could, again, walk around, grab that mid-range meal for a little bit higher than what you're expecting maybe in some of the other counties, especially Berks County. But Delaware County's got a ton to offer. You get that pint of beer for maybe that $5 and $6, $7 range. You want to go out for something a little more fancy, but a low-end meal is going to cost you around that $25 to $35 per person, depending on what you buy, how much you eat, and if you're going to the Chinese buffet or not. Somebody say Chinese buffet? I'll meet you there. All right, in no particular order, let's round it out with Chester County. Best schools in the state. That's right, Tread East and Radnor. Check out some of our videos on the main line. Chester County is where it's at. We have an office in Chester County. We have offices all over the regional area as well. We can help you nationally with any of your real estate needs, of course. We're talking about Chester County. Average price point, $335,000. The average taxes for properties is around $5,000. You do have that city wage tax, 1% to 2%, depending on which township you're in. You want to live in Westchester Borough. It's a great borough. I went to Westchester University. Go Rams. Golden Rams. I wonder if they still fire the cannon off every time they score a touchdown. I'll have to look into that. Transfer tax is that 2% total. Again, some of the areas is a little more. Places like Coatesville, it's 3%. Everybody splits it down the middle. It's really not a problem. It all kind of evens out. The theory behind that is if you pay less of a transfer tax or pay more of a transfer tax, then we won't have to raise your property taxes. Speaking of property taxes, I might have mentioned it, the average there. Healthcare, gasoline, we're kind of in that same range. Gasoline's right around $2.80. You can get into some rural areas. Say that 5 times. Rural areas of Chester County as well, near Oxford and getting towards Maryland and the Delaware borders. Healthcare and groceries, a couple $100 a month per person. That's a very similarity pretty much throughout our area in the greater Philadelphia area. Again, the closer you get to the city, the more prices are increased. And the further you get out of the city, you've got to drive further to get to it, but the prices are usually decreasing. You want to go out for some fun? Hit me up. We'll take you out. It'll cost us about $50 for 2 people on that lower end meal. You want to grab a pint of beer or a glass of club soda or a glass of wine or a glass of water, or maybe you just want to take a hike and grab a bottle of water. Sales tax is 6%, but the pricing is in that lower average. It's not as high as the city. I could certainly find you a $20 salad if you wanted, but I'd be delighted to show you where we could get you a $13 salad, which would be just as delicious. Well, I hope you found this video interesting, informative, and I hope it helped you out a little bit. If it did, comment that down below. If you had another question, you wanted me to kind of clarify some things, I'm happy to do it for you. I'm Gregory Martier, your local real estate expert here in the greater Philadelphia area. We're here to help. My team and I work at nights and on weekends. If you need anything from us, please let us know. Comment down below, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email, send me a letter, or send me a carrier pigeon. We want to help and we're here to do it. Thanks for stopping by and we'll see you on the next video.